Audio test. Audio test. Excellent. All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, or hello to anyone who ends up watching this on YouTube later. My name's Phil Gallagher. I run ThrabenU University, and today I have a snow day. I'll probably have a snow day tomorrow as well, and maybe even the day after that. There's about 5 inches of snow on top of my bird feeder outside, and that's in the middle of Virginia. So that's probably a recipe for I'm not going to school for the next day or two. All right, I got a message over break, and hey, would you look at that, chat? The Thalia emote is now working. So, those of you who are subscribers, you now have access to the Thalia emote, and it is actually working and good to go. So that's relatively exciting. I think I submitted it either Wednesday or Thursday, so it took a few days to get approved, but it is finally happening. So that is exciting, you know. So now you can feel free to spam those in chat as necessary. That's cool. All right, so this morning I played a sort of Crusader mono-white build, and we took that to a 4-1 finish. And I figured for a little bit of variety, why not stream a more traditional list? I have a mono-white list pulled up here. I think I'm probably going to make a couple of changes. All right, so I think I want to play Avengers in this build, you know, just for giggles. It's been a little while since I played some Avengers, and it's a great Magic card. I think if I'm going to play Avengers, I'll probably cut down on my caverns. You know, when you have like just humans, it's fine, but like when you're on like human, artificer, angel, elemental, and you have like 3 different white costs, I'm fine with like playing a little bit more conservatively and just jamming some more basics into the deck. Let's make ourselves really resilient to Delver, which seems to be everywhere right now. Otherwise, I think I like most of the flex slots in the main here. You know, if we play a 2-2 split of Crusaders and Avenger, that leaves us with 2 Recruiters and 1 Prelate to round things out. I like that. Sideboard's pretty stock. Again, with Delver everywhere, playing a 3rd removal spell in the form of Path to Exile is pretty good. Otherwise, most of the rest of this is normal. Like, we've got 5 Graveyard Hate cards, 2 sort of very flexible removal cards, something that's good against the Miracles and Czech Pile decks of the format, and then sort of War and Peace to round things out for when we get paired against the Mirror. I think I like that, and we'll go ahead and ship this. It looks sharp, doesn't it? I'm a very big fan of that emote. I intend on having the same artist do all of my future emotes. Once I hit Twitch partner status, you know, they give away emote slots left and right when you hit that. So I have more ideas that I need to do. But that'll happen a little bit later. Yeah, I'm really a big fan of how it looks. I would like to play first. This has no lands. This is a reasonable hand that happens to have a Batterskull in it, unfortunately. I'm going to go ahead and take that land. If I want to like use the wasteland that's in my hand after I play Thalia, I really need to have another backup land. so I don't want to miss. I guess I should look and see if I have any data on my opponent. I don't recognize the name. No data on them. But they're playing a Bayou deck, so that's fine. We'll deny them 2 mana sources this turn, unless they have a Force of Will. Not going to bother to sneak a point of damage with the Mother of Runes here. Mother of Runes protecting Thalia after removing 2 opposing mana sources seems way better. Again, not gonna get cute with making a mom attack here. Man, I had elves ready. Ugh. Yep. Not gonna get greedy. I have more lands in my deck than my opponent. I will draw out of this before them. Alright, looks like our opponent is on Bug Delver. If my opponent has a Brainstorm, they should really Brainstorm right here to flip this Delver no matter what. They flip to a Brainstorm. Alright, my opponent has drawn out of their initial mana screw very well. This is not good for me. If the Delver flips, I'm dead in 3 turns. I kind of want to attack with both of my creatures, expose Thalia to a removal spell to try to get my opponent to remove the Thalia so that I can play the Aether Vial if I brick on a land again. Alright. Hey, Eric. Alright, so we get to deploy the vial. So that went as planned. But again, like, if this Delver flips in a timely fashion, I can't beat it. Fuck. Really can't beat that. I guess if I draw land, I can revoke the Lily, and then I can draw Sarah Avenger off the top to block a Delver. Alright, so there's the start of that equation. So opponent's going to wasteland my Rashatenport. Yep. But I don't think I can just, like, slam Naked Jitte on the previous turn. And let this Liliana just keep ticking up with impunity. So this is Abrupt Decay on the Revoker. Ooh, no, a Tarmogoyf. That's still pretty bad. So go to 3 this turn, and then have no out to double Delver. Yep. Alright, so we lost that one to missing land drops. That's okay. Alright, so we're playing against Bug, Delver. We're on the play and we lost. So game 1. We missed second land drop. Not like technically second, because like there was a couple of wastelands involved, but like we never got to our second mana source. Alright. So like before, we'll bring in Paths, Rest in Pieces, and Council's Judgments. We'll board out Revoker, out Prelate, and I think I'm going to do what I did before, and Thalia is way better on the play. But again, if these games are going slower because my opponent is playing a bunch of things like Lily, then like trimming at least one Thalia is fine, and it's a question of whether or not I want extra recruiters to get like by Flicker Wisps and Mirroring Crusaders. I think trimming a bunch of Thalias and just planning on going a little bit longer with the game is probably fine. Who would like to play first? Hand is great. It leads Vile into Rest in Peace, the 2 strongest plays against the opposing deck. And then whatever creatures we draw, we can Vile in. My opponent was F6 there, so I know for the future that they don't have any counterspells in their hand, at least at the time being. Him could be devastating here. I'm hoping they hit my Batterskull. They hit my Batterskull. So that was Batterskull and Swords to Plowshares, leaving me with, like, Recruiter for Stoneforge as my play on the next turn. That's fine. Or do I just want to Mom and Port? If I Mom and Port, then I can probably do some pretty disgusting things with the Recruiter on the follow-up turn. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And if my opponent has a Fatal Push, this also, like, gets the Fatal Push out of their hand before, like, one of my key cards comes down. I'm going to port the green in case they don't have a removal spell and just, like, have a threat they want to deploy. This stops, like... Alright, I guess that was poor. I was going to say, like, it stops, like, Tarmogoyf, but, like, the Rest in Peace already does that. So I should have ported the UC. It would give them the chance to brainstorm with the mana, though. And they haven't had the opportunity to do so yet. Any good... Alright. That's annoying, but, like, I have an active Mom, which is very good against their deck. I'll have a Vial on 3, as well as a Rest in Peace. So, like, this is all fine. Any advice on the punishing fire matchups? I actually have a primer on lands up on the website. So, yes, I have lots of it. We won't use this path to exile on the Deathrite Shaman. The Deathrite Shaman is a 1-2 right now with no relevant abilities. I have the opportunity to port my opponent off of a color completely, so I should probably just do so. Like, I don't want them to, like, deploy a Tarmogoyf to the board, you know, get rid of this Rest in Peace at some point, and then just be way more back in the game. And I don't need to, like, protect and block with Mom yet. My life total is in no jeopardy. I am not scared of a 1-2. Thank you for linking to that, Scudo. I'm going to go ahead and wait to path this Delver to play around Daze. Super punished for doing so. Okay. Oh man, Lily. So good. Let's see if my opponent has a follow-up removal spell here. If they have follow-up removal spell and snipe my Sarah Avenger, I could be in trouble. Otherwise, I feel like I've got this under check. If my opponent has a, like, exactly the card Disfigure, I don't want to make this block. So I will let them have that point of damage. So man with a plan. I streamed once this morning. I'm doing an afternoon stream, and then I'll do one at the usual time this evening at 7 o'clock. Welcome back. Now I'm fine with go ahead and pathing their Delver. Oh, great. Sorry, it is impossible for me to keep track of who's who when. Now I have Flicker as backup, so I'm okay with just doing a block here. I streamed the Crusader build this morning. It's a massacre, you say? I think I want to keep the Avenger over keeping a Flicker Wisp. And we went 4-1 this morning. We lost to Maverick. This evening's build will be a Judge's Familiar build. Hello, hello. How many Avengers? 2 Avengers. Playing a stock mono white list with a split of Avengers and Crusaders in the flex slot, as well as 1 prelate. Alright. Yeah, they're going to fetch away that Thoughtseize. That's not going to do them much good. I'm fine with taking the hit for now. They have 1 card in hand, I have nothing. And my top decks get better if I still have a creature in play. Like, my moms and my equipments feel a lot better when I already have something on board. Is this just like 100% thinning fetch? Right? There was no cantrip on their turn, right? Yeah, there wasn't. Kind of feel like my opponent's supposed to wasteland me off this Caracas here, but I don't know the contents of their hand. I'm going to play this now to play a round of days before they decide to like wasteland me mid-combat or something like that. Is MTGO a better way to get good at Magic than real life? Yes. Unquestionably, yes. You get in more games, you get in games quicker, you get in games against better opponents. All of these things lead to you just being in a better position overall. Like, I'm going to play a GP worth of matches today. That's insane. You also get to play against more matchups than you do on paper. Like, even if you have a relatively healthy metagame, and you have, you know, 10 different decks at your store, you might not have the possibility of, like, just playing against everything all the time, which Moto gives you. Like, you get so much variety in what you get to play. Do you feel ripped off by buying digital cards? No. No, I do not. If I protect here and my opponent has a removal spell, I lose the Avenger, and a follow-up removal spell on my mom would leave me pretty dead. I think I'm okay with just, like, taking the 2 Jitte counters and just keeping them around. Like, my opponent has 3 mana open. They haven't done anything, really, in a couple of turns. I think I'm just going to take my Jitte counters and run. Sure, but, like, that's a real tournament, right? Like, in a real tournament, you can play against literally anything in those first couple of rounds. Like, you have to learn to play against those decks, too. You don't get to, like, just play against the top, 5 decks of the metagame all the time. You have to fight through the bullshit. You have to learn how to play against the random shit you're gonna fight, like, Oops All Spells, John, Tezzerator, Mud, The stuff that only makes up 1% of a metagame is going to show up. Again, I'm going to wait this one out. I feel like my opponent's hand is just like a fistful of removal. Or just infinite lands. We have infinite lands too, though, so it's fine. All right. Yeah, they really believe in the thinning power of fetching. I'm still just gonna, like, play this one with patience. I still just think my opponent has a bunch of removal. Like, I'm effectively at 14 life. Any other creature is a must-answer threat that will take over the game. Opponent just ramming all those lands out there instead of saving them for a brainstorm. Alright. Patience is a virtue. I'm actually just going to tap down my opponent's fetch land. They have a Ponder or something. I'd much prefer that they just don't, like, get a redraw in the same turn. For, like, Ponder Shuffle, take a Ponder, that sort of thing. Hey, look, exactly what I talked about, maybe. Yeah, I think the online metagame is very, very, very good for D&D. Like, you play against mostly blue decks, and a ton of Delver. Sylvan Library. Alright, that will help you from drawing lands, so that's good. Still gonna play with patience. Not in any danger of losing this game at all. Going to continue the plan from before of tap down that Misty. Don't let them, like, Sylvan, look, take one, fetch, and then cantrip. Oh, man. My opponent did not find a land because they kept, like, just playing out their lands rather than, like, saving them to shuffle back into their deck. That's great. Why do you say that? My opponent can draw one card off of Library. Like, Sylvan Library is a bad cantrip at this point. It is something that is going to help fix the top of their deck, but, like, I'm in a great position still. Every creature is a lethal threat. No, like, no questions there. Do we expect an edict? No. Is it possible? Yes. Abrupt decay targeting Sword of Fire and Ice. Sure. Seems like kind of a weird time to do that, but whatever floats your boat. Not the best target for the Swords to Plowshares, but hey, it's just 2 points of lost life on my opponent. And True Name Nemesis. But we just keep drawing lands. It'll push target Mom. Mom protects Mom. Yeah, I mean this is a little frustrating, Eric. Like I took a super conservative, like no way I can lose this game line, and then I drew 4 or 5 lands in a row. Like now my opponent is probably gonna like play a Liliana and like kill this mom. Toxic Deluge X equals 1. Sorry, pal. That is not gonna do what you want. And the opponent concedes. Sure, we could have kept 1 land in hand, but then if they have like Liliana of the Veil and plus, we lose it. I was playing out the lands in case I drew Batterskull, so that I could like have 5 mana plus 3 mana up to protect it. I would have held any subsequent land for sure. And so like we saw the fatal push that I was playing around all game there at the end. Opponent took a very, very bad line and conceded in shame. We'll be on the draw for the next one. Game 2 win with... We'll say game 2 win with Mom and Patience. And I think we'll submit the same configuration. Again, like, the games are going so long that the recruiters are good, even though, like, in the past I've been boarding those out against Delver. Now, this is a fine hand, and my opponent mulliganed. That's a good combination. Like, we have 2 basics for the start of the game, and we can probably lead with Thalia, let Thalia die, then Stoneforge for equipment. Best draw would probably be just like a Swords to Plowshares or equivalent. Alright, Thoughtseize me. Opponent will either take Thalia or Stoneforge. I find it unlikely that they would take Batterskull. Yep. Yeah, feel free to post a link to one of those sagas in chat. They are pretty weird looking. Alright, so this will set up to flip the Delver. Ooh, we've been real good at drawing lands. Real good at drawing lands today. Alright, opponent flips to Brainstorm. I expect Thalia to get Fatal Pushed before I can untap and have Caracas to protect it. Opponent just played that land, right? Yeah, they just played the Wasteland. So go ahead and Wasteland my opponent's C. No, we don't need to do that. Like, all I needed to do was wasteland the open land so that they can't force of will or daze this Path to Exile on their Delver. That's the real play there. And we don't really care, like, that much if the Thalia dies, because we have this Batterskull as inevitability right now. And Mirran Crusader is bros. We'll see if we just get, like, massacred, though. Yes, Basket. This is 2 Avengers, 2 Crusaders. Very, 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 very stock list. So, if opponent finds Massacre to get this Mirran Crusader off the table, then, like, I still have this Batterskull as backup. Although, getting the Batterskull past the opposing wasteland might be annoying. So, my opponent and I are at a similar amount of clock, but I get the first attack. I also intentionally played Caracas over Port here, because my opponent needs to wasteland me off of one of my lands in order for me to not cast Batterskull on my next turn. So I want them to wasteland the Caracas, not the Port. So that was not a misplay on my end. I knew that I was giving them 1 extra mana, but that's fine. That was part of the plan. And now I'll get to port them off of black. So this will keep them from thought seizing the Batterskull away. Nor what I said about, porting them. We'll just put them on dead next turn. Yeah, we played against 2 Tarmogoyf decks today. That's kind of weird. What is this? Is this just like a fucking Jace or something? Tombstalker? Opponent, you're dead on board to Mirran Crusader. Why did you do that? You didn't even, like, bluff Abrupt Decay. Oh, right, they wanted to show us they were playing Tombstalker. That makes sense. My opponent said good game, and they were. They were very interesting game. I'd also be willing to bet he doesn't know about the, like, double strike interaction. Okay, yeah, but That's fair. Their out might be that, like, I don't know how my cards work. That is fair. I have played to that out many, many times myself. Alright, so game 3, win with Crusader and Jete. Oh boy, did I miss playing Mirror and Crusader. I'm gonna go ahead and adjust some of my personal notes here. I know some of you are asking about the list, so I'm just gonna go ahead and leave this pulled up here for 1 second while I jot something down. Yeah, my opponent was also just, like, hellbent at that point, so, like, 100% going for it. Absolutely no way to lose. Alright, so thank you everyone for joining. My name's Phil Gallagher, I run ThrabenU University, and I'm streaming with that stock mono-white D&T deck list you saw. We also have sweet Thalia emotes, as you can see now. In this particular build, I decided to move off of Caverns Basket because I'm playing Avenger, Prelate, Crusader, Flicker Wisp as all these double white cards, in addition to Judgment and Cataclysm in the sideboard. And I just want the strength of my mana base to be one of the, like, best possible things. I won the die roll. Would I like to play? Yes. Would I like to play this hand? I think so. This hand looks great. Teleria 0-1. Looks like my opponent plays Blue-Red Delver. I'll be keeping this hand. This is a pretty perfect hand against Blue-Red Delver. Have you looked at Flagstones with the double Cataclysm? Flagstones is a fine card. It has its drawbacks. You know, you will run into Price of Progress, Back to Basics, Blood Moon. You'll get wastelanded at awkward times. So, like, the downsides and the upsides of Cataclysms are probably about the same. Ooh, opponent is not playing Blue-Red Delver. How do I see the guess of what they're on? I look at MTG Goldfish, and I look to see whether or not they have gotten a 5-0 finish recently. That is what I do. I also have a very, very extensive spreadsheet of my own data of what Magic Online players play. Like, I've been collecting data since December-ish, I think. Maybe earlier. And nope, I won't pay for days. So when Goldfish doesn't have something, there's a very good chance that I have something. We'll go ahead and just wasteland my opponent here, see if they want to do anything in response. And then I'll play up Mom and hold Swords to Plowshares. Alright, another Force of Will. That's fine. Opponent's down to 3 cards. I still have, like, a Recruiter for a Flicker Wisp in my hand. I have a removal spell for their first threat. I'm feeling fine. Oh, right, I need to look at the challenge results. Someone sent me that earlier, and I saved the link for it. I still have the link. I just didn't get around to looking at it. What do I want to do? What do I want to do? think I would like to... I think I want a Stoneforge. Yeah, I think I want to get Batterskull. I'm not in any danger of dying this game, so even if my opponent, like, has a black source to, like, Fatal Push or Thoughtseize away this Batterskull, that's okay. And if they just, like, remove the Stoneforge, I like my chances of hardcasting the Batterskull some number of turns down the line. My opponent is presenting absolutely no pressure right now, and is relatively low on resources. And my opponent probably doesn't have Stifle, but we'll play around it. Yeah, in the mono-white builds, unless you're going out of your way to play around Massacre, you're not playing around it most of the time. Yeah, we're getting close to that 10 fin stream. That's realistic at this point. Alright, opponent just scoops it up there. They've had enough. So for the third time again today, we are playing against Bug Delver. I don't know why this deck is all of a sudden so hot. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Alright, so we got that game with a Wasteland, followed up by a Batterskull. Alright, so, for the third time, Paths, in, Rip, Council's Judgment, in, Revokers, out, Prelate, out, and I think we did, what, 2 Thalias and a Flicker Wisp out. You think this is Grixis Delver. My opponents showed us UC and Bayou, though. Or, sorry, UC and Trop. I think it's Bug. Could be Grixis. The upside of me boarding in the Rips is really, really, really high if they are Grixis. Or, excuse me, if they are Bug. And they're still not that bad if they are Grixis, so I'm gonna go ahead and board them in. Oh, Bug Delver did good at the GP. Okay, so people are just like going sheep and looking at the GP results to figure out what they want to play. That might make sense. So you think the transition to from blue-red Delver to Grixis makes sense in terms of like what they would play? I could buy that. So, like, it's just a difference of 2 cards, right? It's a difference of whether or not we play Rest in Peace versus whether we play, like, Thalia number 3 and Flicker Wisp 4. I'm gonna go ahead and board like this. Like, Thalia is not the best on the draw. Like, it's still very, very good. And I think this is okay. I think this player just plays the flavor of the month. That's fair. So which version of D&T would you play at a GP? I would play red-white. I'm going to keep an awkward 7-card hand. This is a hand that can be very, very powerful. If they are on Grixis and they have Cabal Therapy, this hand can be rough. But again, I feel like they're bug. You would board like this regardless of their deck. Okay. I'm sure you've heard me say this already, but I've been testing playing a little bit later game against Grixis Delver with some degree of success. Where are all the fiery confluences, you say? I mean, I've loved fiery confluence for a long time. You know, I've been playing Blood Moon Stompy on paper since June, or I guess it was probably May of last year. I really enjoy that deck. I will certainly stream with that deck once I get my stuff worked out with card order. Like, you can 100% guarantee that's something that's going to happen. Look, Bug Delver with Probe? Yeah, right. Well, let's see what they fetch now. Alright, it is Grixis. Yeah, I don't know why my opponent didn't mulligan one or both of these hands. Like, they've had these tropical island openers that are just doing them absolutely no favors. Bug Delver splashing Grixis. Sure. Alright, let's run this Mother of Runes into a removal spell, shall we? Yeah, there we go. And we're doing this now to play around my opponent drawing a black source for any sort of discard. How many followers for a Nourishing Lich stream? That is a good question, White Faces. That's pretty deep by my standards. I play a lot of Magic, and I play a lot of bad decks, but I usually only play bad decks that I think can win, and Nourishing Lich does not fall into that category. Stun, would you message me that deck list? That sounds really weird. I don't know that that's weird good, but it's weird enough and I haven't seen it, where I'm willing to take a look at that and at least entertain the idea of doing so. We'll kill this Pyromancer here before it gets out of control. I'll wasteland my opponent off of one of their primary colors. I guess I'll play out the second Rest in Peace and pass the turn. Again, Grixis Delver is like not going to have, you know, a Maelstrom Pulse or equivalent to get rid of multiple Rest in Pieces at once. Opponent is hoping to hit like Black Source plus Fatal Push to get my Stoneforge off the table. Pithing Needle, sure. That probably names Sword of Fire and Ice, so that if they deal with the Stoneforge once, it's all said and done. Oh no, they named the Aether Vial. They're scared. Alright, let's see. So I can kill my opponent dead in 3 turns, but my opponent has me on the same degree of clock. So I think I'm going to shoot them directly. My opponent could have red cards that change the clock, but like literally any creature I draw beats this elemental token. And I would rather get rid of my, like, pressure my opponent's life total greatly in case they do have a removal spell for this sword. Yeah, Worm Biologist. I don't really think like macros are going to work on Moto because you're like if your opponent doesn't F6 or they like stop F6ing, that's just going to end in tears. I'm fine with taking this 1 point of damage from the Elemental here. Don't need to Swords to Plowshares that. I will use Stoneforge Mystic's ability. I'll get a Jetay. I'll cast a Jetay. I don't have zero respect for that user. I'm just saying, like, realistically speaking, you know, your macros work very well in like a fighting game where you need to do a sequence like very accurately, very quickly. But in Moto, where like you encounter real amounts of lag and there's opponent decision inputs in between, I don't think you can have any like macro setup to like actually do something on Moto for you consistently. Days? Will I days? Pay for days? Sure. Will I pay 1 for days? Yes. If I want to remove this token, I can do so right now while they have no island up to potentially daze me again. I don't really know that doing so matters, but since I have another removal spell, it's like potentially fine to do so. But I actually don't know what can kill me. Like Massacre doesn't do it. I'm trying to figure out why my opponent dazed. The daze doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Is it just to like potentially get in for one more with the elemental? Do they have like something like Fatal Push Lightning Bolt does it because they don't have double mana source? I'm just gonna pass. Sure, but like equipping the Jitte doesn't really matter, right? Like they attack with the true name, and I can just equip the Jitte on my next turn. No worries there. Again, to play around days and guarantee my opponent being dead, I'm going to wait to do this on my turn. I'm not bottlenecked on mana at all. I will path a Deathrite Shaman. I'm now presenting 5, and my opponent scoops it up. Alright, so we're on the draw there, and we win. Game 2, win with Stoneforge Mystic into Sword of Fire and Ice. Alright. Easy as that, folks. Just keep getting paired against Bug Delver and just keep playing good cards. So thank you everyone for joining me this afternoon. My name is Phil Gallagher. I run ThrabenU University, and today we're streaming a mono-white D&T build. Someone asked why Prelate in one of the flex slots. In looking at the build, I want to Prelate somewhere in the 75 just to like have additional game against things like Show and Tell and lands. And since I'm split between Avengers and Crusaders, it kind of makes sense to put this in the main deck, because these are good against like your Delver and mid-range type stack, and Prelate is another card that's good against combo. In the red-white builds, I'm favoring Wingmare much more, but that's because Magus of the Moon and Sanctum Prelate kind of do the same role of being like a game-ending threat against slightly different sorts of decks, but sometimes the same decks. So that's kind of how I came to that decision. Alright, I've played against this player before. Recognize the name. Can't type. I think my opponent plays 4-color control. On the draw, I'm fine with keeping an awkward Ether Vial hand. Like, I have good things to put in. I have a Wasteland if my opponent doesn't Deathrite Shaman, but they Deathrite Shaman. Go ahead and Vial this time. Alright, opponent dazes. That's fine, pay 1 for days, no. Yeah, I've played against them when they were on multiple different decks. It was 4-color control more recently, but the daze here indicates that like that is probably not the case. We're probably looking at like yet again another Delver matchup. So the plan for the next turn is Swords to Plowshares the Delver and Wasteland their land. Yeah, it is really kind of sad to just see everyone just, like, giving up and defaulting to Delver. I agree. We can Wasteland first to play around another Daze, but, like, wasting in the face of my opponent having a Force of Will would feel much worse. Like, I really don't want to Wasteland if my opponent forces this. I'd rather just keep my land. So I'll expose myself to Daze here. And it's not that much of an exposure, right? Oh yeah, like, Grixis Delver is like, probably certainly the best deck in the format. Or at least one that gives you fair game against enough of the format while being a skill-intensive deck. Or maybe not skill-intensive. A deck with a high ceiling for skill. Oh yeah, like, it's the best shells in Legacy right now all contain, like, Brainstorm Ponder, Deathrite Shaman. It's a great package. Yeah, I don't really want to, like, talk about banning Deathrite Shaman. You know, I've made my case plenty of times before. You know, I'm pro Deathrite Shaman ban. We can leave it at that. Agit's controlling Deathrite Shamans over there. Traitor. It's fine. I don't blame you. Like, Deathrite Shaman is a card that feels really, really good to play with. I've played a decent amount of decks that have Deathrite Shaman in it. It is cheating. It's kind of silly that it's an accelerant and a win condition, and, like, a bridge and anti-wasteland hate and random reanimator hate all in one. It's a real good card. It does things. Alright, opponent not offering the trade for the Deathrite Shaman there, indicating that they might have a removal spell in their hand to just, like, eat my Revoker. Oh man, I enjoy Food Chain. I've written an article or two on Food Chain. It's a fun deck. Alright, well. I'm going to offer the trade for the Deathrite Shaman. Alright, how do I win this game? I need to draw white sources to win this game, preferably multiple. There are 2 lands in Graveyard. I can turn that into 6 lands in Graveyard. Then I don't get to play around a Daze for my Stoneforge Mystic, which can help me stabilize, which is problematic. Yeah, but Whiteface is you play Miracles and you don't really care about that card. No, I'm going to put my opponent into the position where they just have no mana. And, like, then this shuts off Daze as a line. Alright. We're in business. I am going to jam the Stoneforge here to try to stabilize my life total. Alright, there's a Force of Will. That's fine. Do I want to attack with the Revoker again? The Delver on its own is a 4-turn clock. The Delver plus the Deathrite Shaman is a 3-turn clock, so I don't want to attack with the Revoker. Blocking will give me an additional turn. Oh, I'm not name calling for... Oh, you're talking about Minifer. Yeah. That's fair. Alright, now I just need to draw a second white source to resolve Sarah Avenger, and everything's gravy from there. Be nice, chat. Yeah, opponent kind of obligated to take that trade there. We'll trade for this Delver if my opponent attacks, otherwise I offer them the trade right back. Opponent can't just, like, bolt the Sarah Avenger or equivalent. They have another Delver. Oh, man. Opponent forgot about Thalia. Alright, opponent seems to have Lightning Bolt in hand, based on the weird tapping that they did, and like the random fetching. So let's lock them off, and lock them off of cantrips as well. Well, that Daze feels real bad in the face of this Thalia that's 2 turns away from lethal. Hey, but maybe you'll draw a black land and get to deploy a Deathrite Shaman. Nope, another Delver. Yep, totally being a bully. If my opponent has Lightning Bolt in hand, like I suspect that they have, and they rip another land, they can blind flip Delver, bolt me, kill me. So I could port them to keep them off of casting Lightning Bolt. And play Mother of Runes. If they blind flip the Delver, they have to chump block the Thalia. So I think that's actually good. What does chat say? Chat agrees. Except one random person who says, I hate Colin. Alright. Well, we're going to disagree with them. He's bros. Mom does make it real hard to chump block. Alright, so round infinity in a row against Delver, of the Grixis flavor this time. We were on the draw and we won. So game 1, stabilize at low life and win with double waste. Alright, so against Grixis Delver, I will probably board in these 5 cards. Board out the Revokers, board out the Prelate, board out a Thalia. And we've gone entirely political in chat. We're just animals. Excuse me while I enjoy my tea, Mr. Englishman. This is a fine hand. It has Vial. It has 2 pieces of removal. Deal. Drawn Crusader's great. And we've gone full circle to sheep jokes now. The chat, ladies and gentlemen. I love them. I'm gonna give them some Thalias. We path a Delver. I'm going to waste them off of black for Deathrite Shaman. And then we'll pass the turn and slowly tick up the Vial to my opponent's Doom / Mirror Crusader. Abrade the Vial. I accept. I have another. All of our infinite basic planes that I'm running in this exact shell, doing a great job against the opposing Wasteland. Opponent has a young Pyromancer now, which I'll probably just Council's Judgment away for the sake of my curve. Yeah, if I Council Judgment away the young Pyromancer, then next turn I put in Thalia off Vial and hardcast Mirror Crusader if my Caracas is still around. Alright, opponent was F6'd. They're out of counter magic. I will use Ether Vial's ability. So we'll go ahead and tap this. Yes. Put in Thalia. Flavor Shot in port. Dump a Mirror Crusader into play. Have Caracas back up for Thalia. Do I assume that they have True Name because they didn't waste? Not necessarily. It's a possibility. Like, they're also so low on mana and resources that it's possible that they just think they need their land. Because if I have something like a Thalia, you know, Exhibit A here, not having an extra land might be really bad. It's also really rough to try to wasteland in the face of Ether Vial successfully. I'm going to leave the Violet 2 for the time being. I have a lot of 3-drops, but I have like this whole like Thalia bounce Caracas thing going on. So I'm going to just keep that up. When Thalia dies, I can use the Caracas as a Lotus Petal to put out the Batterskull. I was probably a little hasty in that attack. I could have gone all in and, like, Stoneforge, get Jitte equip, swing. I don't think I needed to do that yet. I feel okay about my position. I'm just thinking about whether or not I want to, like, drop the Caracas protection to get a piece of equipment into play this turn. I don't think I need to do that. I think I'm just going to continue to port my opponent. Wasteland or Schadenport, you say? That's fine. True name Nemesis, you say? Also okay. We'll use Stoneforge Mystic's ability. I'll get a Sword of Fire and Ice. We'll leave this on 2 still for the time being, which is a great decision, immediately rewarded. We're taking this play over the Batterskull play because this kind of like gains me 3 life immediately by dealing with the Delver and draws me a card. The Batterskull line would be really susceptible to a single removal spell. Whereas like on my next turn now, I have like Vial in Avenger, re-equip equipment if necessary, otherwise put Batterskull in and go ham. I have Thalia Caracas right now. That is the reason why. Lightning Bolt the Sarah Avenger. That is fine. So, like, now I have Wasteland this Underground Sea, put in the Batterskull, and still hold Caracas Thalia Vial up. It's a pretty disgusting combination. And my opponent scoops it up. Yeah, like, the chat is absolutely full of really good players right now. That's why there's such a good conversation right now about Legacy and not Sheep. Wait, it's a little of both. Alright, so we are on the draw there, and we win. So, game 2, win with double equipment versus True Name Nemesis. Alright, so it's Grixis Delver for round 2 there. Chat, I'm going to take about 30 seconds to run to the restroom before I start this next one up. Here is the deck list that I'm currently playing. If you have any questions about that, feel free to throw them in the chat, and I'll hit them in about 30 seconds. Alright, I'm back. Let's see what the chat has to say. Sheep chat is better than Legacy. I mean, Scudo's got a sheep emote, so they're ready. Back in we go. Currently 3-0. When you play the mono white deck and all you get paired against is Delver, it's really hard to, like, not just crush. You know, mono white D&T's win percentage against Delver is, like, on average, probably something stupid like 65 or 70%. Maybe even higher. Like, I can look up what my statistics are, but, like, they're going to be higher than the average players. But, like, when you're running such a rock-solid mana base with so much removal and so many must-answer and annoying cards, it's hard to lose those. With the red-white, you lose more random games to opposing wastelands and stifles than you do with the mono-white, so you get Delvered a bit more. On a scale of 0 to 10 sheep, how confident are you against a turn 1 Underground Sea into Delver? I'd say 7 sheep. Like, sometimes you get, like, the whole, like, days force sort of shenanigans where you fall really far behind early, but generally speaking, I'm A-okay with my opponent playing a turn 1 Delver. That's very, very beatable. Fuck, chat. My opponent's name is Elf Kid. That's bad. Let's see if I have any data on Elf Kid. Opponent has been seen playing Elves, Burn, and 3-color Taxes recently. He's on Stompy, probably. Hi, record 3-0. I will keep my hand. Be warned, he's a steaming pile of salt. Yeah, it sounds like he's about to, offer me tickets to concede. That's what people usually do when they ask for the record. And I'll politely decline. I don't like splitting on Magic Online where I don't know my opponent. I have no way of, seeing that they actually will do what they say they're going to do. And I'm also playing against an amazing matchup. I also have an amazing hand against this deck in particular. I'll get to Violin Stoneforge, get a pro-red sword, prelate on 4 to stop all of the best cards in their deck, all before they can probably get anything that matters. One, two, three, four. Opponent scoops it up. They know what's up here. Alright, so we're playing against Red Prison. We are on the play, and we win versus Elf Kid. Game 1, win with Thalia into prelate. This is a very, very good matchup for me. Which version my opponent is playing can influence slightly what I want to do. But generally speaking, I want to bring in things that can answer a board full of bullshit. So that's Council's Judgment and Cataclysm. And I'll trim some other cards. Like, I don't need Jete here. I can probably trim my Crusaders. Actually, I might, until I know if they're playing Rabble Masters, I might start by trimming Swords to Plowshares, actually. Like, you want to remove Rabble Master. It's a really, really, really good Magic card. It closes games quickly. But I don't really need outs to Magus of the Moon. And something like a Sin Prodder isn't the end of the world, although those have fallen out of favor. Yeah, I'll submit for game 2 without Swords to Plowshares, and then maybe readjust depending on what my opponent is doing. Jitte is good versus bridge, might be worth keeping in for that. That's fair. That's fair. Like, on that note, I could just, like, cut the Batter Skull because, like, I'm going to fetch a pro-red sword up first anyway. I'll submit like this. Sure, they can definitely have those things, and that's fine. They really have to have those things if they want to win. I'm going to think about this hand for a minute. If my opponent does not have Chalice on 1, I can just super aggro them out. If my opponent does have Chalice on 1, I lose. Chalice frequently gets boarded out in this matchup. It's not the greatest. Like, Avenger into Crusader off of Vial is super aggressive, and I can, if they don't Blood Moon, I can Wasteland them off of, like, a Soul Land or something like that. This one's tricky. Yeah, I do have plenty of great 6s, but this is a super aggressive 7. And with a land, this hand is absolutely bonkers insane. I'm not worried about a fiery Confluence, I'm more worried about an Abrade. I'm gonna keep it. Yeah, so, like, that's the thing about the Red Prison deck. If you give them too long, they have, like, Planeswalkers and fiery Confluences and all sorts of other bullshit that can just really mess with you. And so, like, we hit a land in one of our first 2 draw steps, so, like, this hand is still really good, right? Like, my opponent is down to 1 card. They can't cast, like, a Chandra or equivalent with the mana that they currently have. Alright, there's a Goblin Rabblemaster. We can block the token safely. We'll play this sword. The sword kills the Goblin Rabblemaster on the next turn before it gets out of control. So we just need to dodge a good draw from my opponent here. Like, a land into a Chandra would be rough. Second Rabblemaster. How does that math out? I'm sure it hurts. Probably just dead. Alright, so I am at 5. I have an Abyss for my opponent's creatures. but I need to chump block the Rabble Master this turn. So I'll chump block the Rabble Master, take 4 damage, kill the Rabble Master, be at 1 life, need to draw land to stick Jitte and probably lock things up. You know, sans a top deck like land plus 3rd Fiery Confluence of the game. Bridge. Shit. So my opponent will be able to attack with 3 1/1s. Three 1/1s beats me. Are there any circumstances under which I do live? Them playing out 2 cards in quick succession so they can't attack with their goblins. Oh, they can also just keep the card in their hand, go to attacks, and then kill me that way. So I need to attack to get a redraw, and try to get a Swords to Plowshares. Nope, that doesn't work. Can't attack. Bridge. Alright, yeah, I'm dead here. Yep, 100% dead here. Rabble plus Bridge is pretty hot. I agree. I'm going to play out a Jitte and fake Swords to Plowshares and see if that influences what my opponent does. Alright, my opponent has solved the puzzle. I'll concede. Alright, so game 2 result, loss. We'll be on the play for the next one. So game 2, double Rabble into Bridge. Alright, so let's revisit some sideboarding now. Looks like my opponent is pretty aggressive and low to the ground. I still kind of want to keep the Cataclysms as a safety net for, like, just Bridge and Chandra. So I'm going to keep those in. But I do need some number of these Swords to Plowshares back in the deck. But, like, most of my cards are pretty good. This is the issue here. When I think about my equipment package, I still think I want all... I still want 3 pieces of equipment, probably not 4. Batterskull is really, really good against Rabble Master, because the tokens have to attack, and they have to attack into it. So I'll probably put Batterskull back in. It leaves me a little less good against Bridge. I'll probably trim the Crusaders for 2, like, to keep 2 Swords to Plowshares in. No, Revoker's insane. Revoker's really good against their Planeswalkers. And also really good against Chromebox. Maybe I'm only supposed to run 2 Swords to Plowshares. Either that or, like, I cut the Cataclysms and run the Swords. Is Avenger great? I mean, Avenger's fine. Like, Avenger is an aggressive card that can live through some amount of opposing removal. I could buy that cutting Avengers is right, though. I'll run this. I disagree. I think pro-red equipment can be very, very, very important in this matchup. This is not an optimal hand. This one like has double Caracas, so it's already effectively a mulligan, and this is a hand that's soft to Blood Moon. I think I'm going to try to find a more reasonable 6-card hand. Like, Thalia's good, and Revoker's good. These cards are slow and maybe uncastable. Like, an Ether Vial opening would be stronger. A hand with a Rashadan Port would be stronger. But, like, as a 6-card hand, this is a really good 6-card hand. I think for a second. If I'm happy with this as a 6-card hand, do I just keep it now, or do I like go for something that is more optimal? Do they have a lot of artifact removal? They have 4 main deck Fiery Confluences and probably like 2-ish sideboard Abrades. I'm going to reluctantly... So if they Blood Moon me, that's not great. If they accelerate out a creature, that's not great. This is a very, very close hand. I'm going to snip this one for a conversation piece later. This is not a good hand. This is not a great hand, but we're going to keep this one. Would I keep it as a 6-card hand without the scry? That's the dangerous question, right? So like let's just like pull this hand back up again. So, you know, if I ignore this and I just treat this as a 6-card hand, I think with a scry, that's a good 6-card hand. But without the scry, that might be on the wrong side of variance there. If my opponent played a turn 1 anything, it's bad. Followed by a tricky scry. I think I'm going to bottom this one and look for more early interaction rather than late game interaction. I don't want to draw this Cataclysm yet, you know. I want to draw this Cataclysm on like turn 8 if we make it to that point. So I'll bottom that. Yeah, sans turn 1 Chandra that we got covered with a Revoker. It's a rough hand. I'm gonna just port my opponent here, and then like play Mom the following turn, Stoneforge the turn after that, and probably be in pretty good shape. Like they had no turn 1 play, so their hand's full of fat. So porting them's pretty good. It also gives me like a few turns to draw into a wasteland. If I had Damping Sphere, I wouldn't bring it in against this deck. Alright, opponent gets to do some play for 4 mana here. Bridge. Alright, well, we've got the Council's Judgment for that. And we have, port. If my opponent has another, like, actual mountain, I don't want to attack with his Mother of Runes to play around, like, Fiery Confluence to wipe my board. Minifer, he did not need the Simian Spirit Guide for that. I guess he just sent it to exile rather than... That's a great question. I don't know. So I'll port my opponent again, put in the equipment, and then just start going to Pound Town with Sword of War and Peace. Playing the Thalia can be very, very good as well. Like, I can just play Thalia, make it even harder for my opponent to get below Ensnaring Bridge, or play a relevant sweeper like Fiery Confluence, and then, like, stick a point of damage this turn. Yeah. Sorry, I like that better. Yeah, chat, you came to the same conclusion I did. Is this weird? But it might be better to take them off of Mountain, actually. Like, most of the red cards are red-red. I'm gonna do that. Oh, he didn't actually exile it. It's a mana ability, so you can undo it. I see. I see. That makes sense. So opponent has to discard at this point. Discarding P and K. Okay, what happens if I just bash with Thalia? Thalia hits for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and I give my opponent the opportunity to cast one spell. What one spell could beat me? There is no sweeper that can kill my board. A Chandra or equivalent is not that scary at this point. I don't think there's any way they can empty their hand. They could have instant speed, exile Spirit Guide, abrade the sword. That would be annoying. I play around Simian Spirit Guide Abrade, or something of that ilk if I just stay the course. If they use a Simian Spirit Guide to Abrade, though, and they follow up with, like, land Fiery Confluence, it's a lot of things that, like, have to go right for this game to turn around. It's a close spot. I'm going for it. If my opponent has Fiery Confluence, I still get to keep, like, a creature. Kozilek's Return. Okay, that's fine. What's a snow-covered basics for? It is a split between plains and snow-covered plains for the purposes of predict. There's not a single person in chat who called Kozilek's Return. Stinger called it? I missed that. Okay, Stinger did call it. Alright. Quicksmith Rebel. Why did you pick Ensnaring Bridge as your target? I'm like 95% to just Council's Judgment away Ensnaring Bridge if you do that. You have a Fiery Confluence to get both of my artifacts here? That'd be slightly annoying. That is brave. I'll get Flicker Wisp. I don't really know what I need to get, so just getting Flicker Wisp will let me, like, get a Recruiter rebuy if I need to, or Blink and Ensnaring Bridge if that's something that comes up. Sorceress Spyglass on sort of War and Peace Agate. Like, getting the Flicker Wisp can let me Flicker Wisp that Spyglass at some point a turn or two down the line. Okay, that stings. Alright, lots of lines available. I can Mom and Flicker Wisp just produce 2 bodies. Flicker Wisp gets no value if I do this. I can Mom Council's Judgment away Quicksmith Rebel. I can Mom Council's Judgment, Council Judgment away Sorceress Spyglass. I will die to a Fiery Confluence, no matter what. That can just dome me. I feel like I need to do something where I set myself up to gain life. So I think that's Mom and Council's Judgment away one of these 2. I need to do something that impacts the board. So if I Judgment their body and play Mom, then I just have like a 1/1. They're at 15 life. But I could Cataclysm the next turn, and that might like lock them out. If my Alternatively, I like Mom, Judgment this. When I draw land, I Flicker with Spyglass, get in with War and Peace. I don't want to, like, chump for 1 turn. I'm either taking damage or doing it. Like, alright, so either way, I'm playing Mom. That happens. I think I'm just going to play around a removal spell by getting rid of the Quicksmith Rebel. This would play around something stupid like an Abrade or just another random bridge. Okay. I can slam the Cataclysm, get rid of 3 lands, and either Spyglass or Bridge. Most certainly Spyglass. My Flicker Wisp kind of has double duty now. I think this This line shuts off a lot of my opponent's outs and maybe makes their bridge bad. If nothing else, I still have this Mother of Runes that can just peck them for 14 turns. Oh no, we keep planes. We have 2 white cards in our hand. And my opponent is probably going to keep, like, Ancient Tomb and Bridge. That way, if they draw a Mountain and a 3-drop, they can go from there. Alright, opponent now needs red in order to cast whatever is in their hand. I love my lightning planes, though. Use Stoneforge Mystic's ability, yes. I'll get the Battered Skull in case my opponent plays a Goblin Rabblemaster. Chandra. Alright. So I have a Flicker Wisp to get in for damage. So we're not, like, just stone cold dead to that. Oh shit, we were at 2, so the Chandra just pluses, and we are dead to that. Okay, yep. Not too much I could have done about that, then. No, just it was not in the deck. I could not have swords my 3/4. Sword of War and Peace gives it pro-white. I could have swords my 1/1. That puts me at 1. Like, I just F6 that. So, like, let's take another draw step. What do we draw? We draw a land. So we would cast Flicker Wisp, get rid of the bridge, attack for 3, gain 5, go up to 8, and then be locked under the bridge after that. I can't draw more cards to see what would have happened. I froze up. That's unfortunate. Yeah. Womp womp. Alright, loss. So game 3, loss to bridge, post Cataclysm. Alright, back in we go. So for anyone who is not familiar with the stream, my name's Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, and today we are playing stock mono-white D&T. You know, kind of no tricks, no shenanigans. Tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern, I'll be streaming a Judge's Familiar build. If you're enjoying this content, you know, feel free to follow. I'm probably going to stream a ton over the next couple of days. I think we're probably up to like 5 or 6 inches of snow here. I'm not going anywhere for a few days. How's your Grixis Delver matchup? With the mono white build, I probably win like 75% of the time. With the red white build, it's probably closer to like 65. It's still positive, but like probably somewhere in the 60-65 range. This hand looks great. Maze, knee, maze. Opponent last seen on 4-color control. I'll keep this hand against that. It has 2 wastelands. Let's hope they don't lead on Deathrite Shaman. Opponent forces, pitching force at will. Yeah, this hand is very, very good. Like, the Batter Skull is a little bit dead, which is unfortunate, but otherwise the rest of the hand is really, really solid. Alright. Opponent leads on force, pitch, force, shows me swamp. My thought is this is swamp for Entomb, Reanimate. I think I'll name Grizzlebrand with Phyrexian Revoker. They were just seen on Czech Pile. Maybe that's just them playing around Wasteland. If that's them just playing around Wasteland, then this is an overly ambitious line, and I should just name, like, Liliana of the Veil or Jace the Mind Sculptor. But if they have switched decks, this does look like a blue-black Reanimator opening. Since I have double Wasteland, I'll go ahead and name Deathrite Shaman. No, for each, that's a fair question. Avenger's better if you're seeing more Delver. Crusader's better if you're seeing more Czech Pile. That's your short version. Him, me, take Wasteland, Batter Skull. That's rough. This is turn 3, so I can't cast the Avenger yet. I can cast the Sword now, but I'd rather keep my opponent's resources strapped. No Avenger yet. Sure, that's fair. I don't want to see, like, land Jace bounce Sarah Avenger from my opponent. That would be devastating. Most other things I'm okay with. I guess another him would be rough. And this is why I usually play 4 Crusaders rather than Avengers in mono-white builds. Thanks, but what about the long version? I can't give you a longer version than that while streaming. You know, there are a list of like pros and cons of both, but essentially Crusader is pro-black and dodges more removal. Avenger is a more aggressive beater in the early turns of the game. You know, that's the gist of what's going on there. Pretty terrified of my opponent having a Culligan's Command for my equipment and my Stoneforge. Deathrite Shaman gaining life and accelerating and doing all these amazing Deathrite Shaman things. A Culligan's Command will destroy whatever equipment I put in, plus both of my creatures. Because if they have K Command, they K Command, destroy my Sword of Fire and Ice, deal 2 to my Stoneforge Mystic, then block Baleful Strix with, block Serra Avenger with Baleful Strix. And then I'll just die to the 2 Deathrites that are on board. But not like I can really play around that at this point. I agree, risk it for the biscuit. But we ain't getting no biscuit here. Like, that's the red source for the K Command. And now my opponent is figuring out that they should do this mid-combat, and they have just telegraphed their card. So there's that. Yeah, like, you know, it's very clear that my opponent has it. I don't really have a better line here. You know, the Deathrite Shamans deal me 4 a turn as long as there's food in the graveyard. I think my opponent should have waited until mid-combat there, but, you know. So I can Swords the Strix, get in there with Avenger this turn. Or I can just, like, miss out on 3 point of damage, put a second body into play, end step, Swords to Plowshares to Baleful Strix. That's more damage over time, but it doesn't give me the opportunity to just, like, wreck my opponent if they don't have an answer to the Jitte. But I think this is significantly safer. Let's find them IRL and steal their sheep. I haven't gone in as deep as stealing sheep yet. Aggressive line. I'm not going to Swords to Plowshares yet. I don't think. If they have something like Toxic Deluge and they sweep my board for some reason and kill both of their Deathrites, I might want to have this. It would give them a chance to draw a Force of Will, but if their Force of Willing is Swords to Plowshares, I'm okay with that. Oh shit, I clicked too quickly there. I wanted to play Jitte and equip. Alright, looks like my opponent has Force of Will, so it wouldn't have mattered if we did it pre or post combat, so that makes me feel slightly better. I like it when my misplays don't matter. Make them use Deathrite Shaman if they want to make red or double black. My opponent from the previous round agrees that my mulligan decision was very difficult. Alright, we're on the aggro my opponent out plan. How many creatures are left in graveyards? There are no creatures left in graveyards, so my opponent can't actually gain life. So we'll just constrain their mana further, and hope we get there. So porting them off of Trop takes them off of, like, Fatal Push a creature in to gain life. Porting them off of the Swamp would have taken them off of, like, a main phase creature like Baleful Strix. But if I port them off the Swamp, they just drain me for 2, so I like porting them off of the Trop. Yeah, we're up to 60 viewing. We've gotten over 100 at a few occasions. When I'm streaming at a decent time, or when there aren't a lot of legacy streamers going, you know, I can get up to pretty high numbers. It feels good. Like, it's really nice to have that degree of support from everyone. So now my opponent will gain 2 life off the Sarah Avenger. Tap down that island. That can't be used by the Deathrite Shaman at all. And then it doesn't particularly matter which one of these I do. I'm going to do the Swamp. And then my opponent will drain me. These Deathrite Shamans aren't very far away from just not being able to produce mana anymore. But if my opponent has a Haymaker card here, it could suck. Yep, that would qualify, yes. That's not good. Still plenty of solid top decks here. Like a Recruiter is really, really good. Source of Plowshares is not. We do not have very many more draws before we are just either dead to the Deathrite Shamans or just dead from the Liliana Ultimate or like Liliana Double Edict sort of situations. The good news is that if my opponent wants to continue plussing the Liliana, they do have to like lose one of their own cards to do it, because it doesn't look like they can deploy both of their cards in their hand. Maybe. Yeah, no plus on the Lily. Yes, creature into creature is ideal, or like Recruiter. That is not good. Yeah, Flicker Wisp is pretty good too, because we can end step Flicker Wisp. Wow, Shardless Agent? Interesting choice. This is the result of the Deathrite Shaman metagame, where everyone is just trying to outvalue each other and go bigger than each other. Alright. Am I technically dead? No, I'm not technically dead. Just mostly dead. So I take 5 this turn, and then I'm dead to Deathrite Shaman. So I need to draw Recruiter, so I can go Recruiter into Recruiter, tick Vial up, put in Revoker. That leaves me alive. Alright, opponent Fate Seals me, and we're done here. And that card remained on top. I'll draw it to see what it was. Alright. We're playing D&T. Playing against Maze, Maze. Game 1 lost to triple Deathrite Shaman. I know the Liliana and the Jace technically did us in, but like it was triple Deathrite Shaman that absolutely won them that game. It kept my mana denial from mattering, it was a win condition, it was a stabilizing card, it did everything they possibly needed it to do. We'll be on play for the next one. Alright, so what are we doing? We probably want these cards to help deal with my opponent's Planeswalkers and their graveyard-based card advantage, and we'll probably board in this extra sword. Revoker is not a reliable card in this matchup. Prelate's kind of weak. Swords to Plowshare is pretty weak. That leaves us with one more card that we have to put back in. Prelate can go on 3 and shut off Deluge and K-Command, but my opponent has removal at so many different costs that that's not the greatest prospect. I guess I'll leave in 1 Revoker. That's a mulligan. That's a keep. I'll put that on top. Since I have Wasteland to deal with Deathrite Shaman, or excuse me, since I have Rest in Peace to deal with Deathrite Shaman, being able to double Wasteland my opponent at some point in the game is going to be devastatingly good. How do we sideboard? Swords to Plowshares out, Prelate out, Rip, Cataclysm, Council's Judgment in. I'm just going to start the Mana Denial now. No way of knowing how many lands my opponent has, but getting rid of a bunch of them is probably pretty good. Take that, Deathrite Shaman. So, Farish, the issue with Prelate in this matchup is that, like, your opponent can have Lightning Bolt, Fatal Push, Decay, Edict, Lily, K-Command, Deluge. There are so many different removal spells at so many different mana costs that you're not necessarily getting a ton of value out of your cards. I'm going to use my mana efficiently here. I think I just want to get a Crusader. My opponent's not showing red mana right now. They can't get it off the board. If they play a red source, I'll Wasteland it before playing the Crusader. If you have multiple Prelates in your deck and you can, put them at different numbers, then they're pretty good, but it's a card that I would say is fine for game 1 to avoid blowouts, but in the post-sideboard game, there's just so much removal. It's probably too difficult to guess correctly. It's not like there's a right and a wrong in sideboarding. It's more like there's different ways to approach a matchup, and I have made my choice of how I want to approach this one. My opponent was going to brainstorm. In response to the Crusader, probably would be a better time than my end step, but they might know something I don't. Taiga in this deck. Wow. Interesting choice. %100% wastelanding my opponent's Taiga. And then I'll probably just play the Stoneforge Mystic. I'd like to be, like, if I draw a land, I'd like to be able to, like, activate Stoneforge, put in equipment. And I get Batterskull. My opponent doesn't remove the Stoneforge. It's a pretty high upside play. And I won't attack with the Recruiter and offer the trade for the Baleful Strix, because, like, if I spike a land, then I have Sword of Fire and Ice and Equip as an option. Leovold. Okay. Opponent appears to be representing some sort of removal spell for my Germ token, or Stone Cold Nothing. We'll see which it is. If they remove the Batterskull Germ token, I have Flicker Wisp to reset it. And with a land, I have, like, Equip Sword of Fire and Ice to Batterskull and just wreck face. Yeah, I keep the Moto sounds on, but at a low volume, because they help me figure out, like, what part of, like, combat or the turn I'm at. It's really easy to just click too quickly. So now opponent can only attack with the Baleful Strixes, maybe only one of them. Yep. If I attack, my opponent blocks with Baleful Strix, I can then cast Flicker Wisp to reset it, or I can just set myself up to gain much more life on the following turn. My opponent has a removal spell for this Germ. Then I take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's not good. if I trade with this Baleful Strix, Flicker Wisp, reset the Batterskull, I'm probably not in any danger of dying to a removal spell immediately, but then I don't have any backup for if something goes wrong. If my opponent doesn't have a removal spell, the Sword of Fire and Ice equipped to the Batterskull does them in. If they do have a removal spell, I'm still in really bad shape to an attack. Keeping that in mind, I'm going to jam this. And no attack with the Batterskull. Okay. That gives him the ability to cast a red card. The issue here being that their one card in hand has to be kind of insane, and they have to have like a fetch land to put a land into the graveyard to turn the Death Rites on. Yeah, so this is an attack with both Baleful Strix. Alright, that doesn't do a ton. But it can put lands into the graveyard for Deathrite Shaman purposes. So there's something to be aware of. Tap this. Yes. Put in Thalia. Equip this here. What am I testing at the minute? I am playing a stock mono white list. No tricks at all. Alright, I have my opponent dead in 2 shots. There are no creature cards in the graveyard. If I shoot any of their stuff with Leovold, I give them a card. I kind of don't want to give them cards. I don't want to give them something that can remove Sword of Fire and Ice, because their normal removal suite isn't the best against this. So I kind of want to just shoot my own germ to not let them draw a card, and it's still a 2-turn clock no matter what. Again, don't want to give them a card. Oop. Could have considered moving Sword over to something else, but I don't think that's worth it. And Bahra, I've changed deck lists a couple of times today, so that I think the deck list that's below the stream is my red-white one. I'll show you the deck list after this. They've got a fetch land anyway. They can make mana. I'll do the same thing one more time here. My opponent's tapped out. So that means that I can go ahead and just Flicker Wisp this, Flicker Wisp this, get another Flicker Wisp. Flicker Wisp is great. And again, I don't want to like bounce the Leovold. I don't want to give them that card. Alright, opponent, you have one card. How will you deal with all of my things? You will not. Game 2 result win. I'll be on the draw for the next one. Alright. So game 2 win with equipment. We'll see how the next one goes. So, Bahra, just to show you the deck list, this is the very, very, very stock deck list that I am playing. You know, no frills. Avenger, Crusader, Prelate as flex slots in the main, Cataclysm, and Sword of War and Peace as flex slots in the sideboard, as well as a third path. So we don't really know if my opponent is playing Waterfalls, that is 4-color Cascade, or if they are a Czech Pile deck that just like randomly runs a one of Shardless Agent. Like they're probably Waterfalls. I guess we saw that Tarmogoyf, right? This is a medium hand. It's not bad enough to go back, but like there's some clunk on this side of things. Maybe he's on a Lurin. Sure. Sure. Alright, that was about the best draw we could muster there. Ooh, Ancient Grudge. Annoying. Under the assumption that this Thalia is going to die, I'm going to play it out now. And then my follow-up play will probably be Rest in Peace before my opponent has a chance to, like, Snapcaster or anything of that ilk. Yeah, F-Freak, but, we've seen too many red lands for them to realistically be a Lurin. You know, a Lurin with red is dead at this point. Alright, super punished by not just playing Rest in Peace. Oh, the Batterskull's in my hand. Sorry, I feel like an idiot there. Cartesian's lists are interesting. Not bad, but interesting. Baleful Strix is fine. Alright, need this Rest in Peace to resolve. It resolved. Great. Now our Stoneforge can put in a piece of equipment and not just have it die to Ancient Grudge. Alright, that's all fine and good. Would really like to draw more lands. Lightning Bolt for the Stoneforge. Okay. Well, let's just do this song and dance again. I was going to sleeve D&T up for an open. What would I play right now? Red. I'd play the red-white build. I feel very, very good about it right now. I've been playing mono-white builds today, just, you know, it's a snow day. Might as well play mono-white. Makes sense, right? I'm not going to block with the Deathrite Shaman to play around Golgari Charm. Sorry, I need to take this. Hello. Nope. Nope, didn't take that. I'll figure out what it was later. So I want to put in Batterskull for sure. And then I can cast Jete as well. Coco, remind me after this and I'd be happy to. Oh, FF Freak, thank you very much for the bits. Sorry, I gotta snap up and focus a bit. Clock is getting low. And I'm not in any danger of losing. My board is very strong. Just need to make sure I don't time out before my opponent. Kicked Marsh Casualties. Alright, so it wasn't, derp words. It wasn't Golgari Charm that I was playing around last turn. It was that. And I'll take that too gladly. Alright. Are your remaining cards Force of Will and blue card? Nope. We win. I have my opponent dead in 2 shots if I just, like, go after their life total. Or no, I don't. That would put them to 9. So I'd rather get the Baleful Strix out of the way in case they draw something to get rid of my Sword of Fire and Ice. And the opponent scoops it up, and that's our second 4-1 of the day with various mono-white builds. Alright, so we win. So game 3, win with Beast Skull and Sword of Fire and Ice. Sweet. We win, he says, right after the stream breaks up. Yeah, we just successfully equipped and did everything we needed to do. To go back to that question, why would we play red-white over mono-white? The red-white build gets free wins with Magus of the Moon, and Pia and Kieran Nalar is really, really good against Czech Pile. We got there against Czech Pile this time, but that's not always the case. You also gain a lot of percentage points against decks like Eldrazi and lands by having Magus of the Moon in your deck. I've been very, very impressed with it. Some people have asked me to stream more with mono-white D&T, and that's why I'm doing so. Help, I'm getting smashed by Julian. Yeah, no help. We can't help you there. So I was pretty happy with this build. You know, both of our builds this morning were 4-1 finishes. If you enjoyed this content, feel free to come back in an hour and a half. At 7 o'clock, I will be streaming with a Judge's Familiar build. If you enjoy my content, please follow. I'm looking to grow the stream quite a bit and provide you the best legacy content that I possibly can. And if you really like, subscribe. You get this awesome, awesome, awesome Thalia emote that I'm basically in love with. She is best waifu. So thank you very much for your time. I'll be back in a little while. I'm going to take a moment here and see if I can find another legacy stream to host and throw you all in there, because I'm sure someone would really appreciate getting, you know, an extra 70 viewers. Alright, I think I found someone playing a Delver deck. Looks like they've got a small stream, so I'm sure that they would appreciate it. So I'm going to go ahead and host them and call it an afternoon. I'll see you all this evening.